President Biden has just approved a plan to expand the southern border wall. Now, this is huge news. And you may have seen articles on this, you may have seen videos on this over the past 6 to 8 hours, but there are things that you probably don't know. These are major lies. There's a lot of controversy right now surrounding the border wall. So today I'm going to walk you through this entire thing, what's going on, what Republicans are saying, what Democrats are saying, what President Biden is saying himself, and we're going to discuss what's going to happen moving forward. So all I ask is if you can do me a favor, if you enjoy and appreciate these daily uploads, do me a favor, go ahead, hit that like button, and let's begin. So the Biden administration has announced that they will waive 26 federal laws in order to allow the southern border wall construction in South Texas to continue. This is huge news. This is massive news. And the reason why this is massive news is because previously, President Biden has said that he would not authorize building any more of the southern wall. He stated, not another foot. Okay? This is big news. Now, I want to show you this clip. This is a clip from Peter Doocy. He's actually asking KJP what is going on here, what changed. So let's go and watch this clip together. Look at this.
Thank you, Kareem. Thank you, Kareem. As a candidate, President Biden didn't say there will not be another foot of wall constructed that except what was appropriated in 2019. He said there will not be another foot of wall constructed in my administration. So something changed. What?
You want us to break the law? Is that what you want? You want us to not comply with the law?
I'm not.
But you want us to not comply with the law. You want us to not be in administrations that follow the rule of law.
You guys do this all the time. The student loans, the student loan forgiveness program. You went to court to fight for that. If this is such a problem, building 20 miles of wall, why not just go to court?
We went to Congress. The Congress appropriates the funding.
Why not
Congress,
fight them more?
Congress appropriates the funding. We asked them to not use that funding for that particular purpose. They denied it, and now we're complying with the law.
If you have to build a border wall, but you don't think that it's going to work, then once it's done, are you just going to tear it down?
I'm not getting into hypotheticals from here.
So interesting. So what KJP and President Biden have also said this earlier today as well. They have both stated that the reason why they are approving the construction of the border wall is because Congress has already appropriated that funding. Okay? Just to give you an idea here, and we don't have all the numbers, the exact numbers, but we have a decent amount. Based off of the last estimates, this was back in August, $300 million. Okay, $300 million of material is still sitting at the border. Okay, $300 million. Also, in August, there were supposed to be 2 different auctions where the Department of Homeland Security was going to auction off some of this material. Prior to that, from the spring until August, we learned that the Biden administration has auctioned off 81 separate lots. Of those 81 lots, they got $2 million. Okay? According to multiple senators, they are selling this material for pennies on the dollar. Pennies on the dollar. Okay? So they are wasting taxpayer money selling these materials that they could otherwise be using. But what's interesting about all this is what KJP just said and what President Biden stated as well, is that Congress appropriated this money for a specific purpose. So by law, they have to use that money for that specific purpose. They cannot reappropriate it. Well, guess what? If you auctioned off some of the materials, then you cannot fulfill that promise. Then you are breaking the law. But when I'm bringing this up to you, start thinking about this. Why would the Biden administration today, or even last night on October 4th, or even October 5th, which is today, why would they come out and say that they are going to approve the construction of the border wall? Well, there's things that have happened over the past week. That's what experts are telling us. here's something else you need to keep in mind. President Biden has made it very clear. He does not think the border wall is going to work. He says President Biden says border walls don't work as administration bypasses laws to build more barriers in South Texas. Well, if they don't work, then why would we keep doing them? And studies have shown that the border wall so far has worked, even though there are still gaps in the border wall. Why is that? Well, here's something else you need to know. Over the past couple of weeks, we've had a few things happen, mainly over the past about a week, 7 days. The first thing is that we actually kept the government open. When I say we, I'm talking about Congress. Congress passed a bill, and that bill means that the government is going to stay funded for additional 45 days. It was a short-term stopgap bill. It was voted by mostly Democrats, but some Republicans. There were 90 Republicans that voted against it. And this also caused Speaker Kevin McCarthy to lose his speakership. He was ousted by Republican Matt Gaetz. And all this happened simply because of a few things. Number one, Republicans didn't get the spending cuts that they were asking for. Number two, the stricter border policies that Republicans were asking for, they didn't get that either. The third thing that Democrats didn't get is they didn't get funding for Ukraine. So according to a few reports before all of this border talk started to happen, we were being told that former Speaker Kevin McCarthy and President Biden had some type of backroom deal, had a backroom agreement where they decided that if we do see a bill for Ukraine, then we could potentially see either spending cuts, which would be very difficult, or the second one, we could see stricter border policies. And now, just days later, we got this update that says President Biden approves of construction of the southern border wall. Again, I think this is very interesting and somewhat suspect, especially because of the timing. Now, let's address some other issues, because again, there's a lot of lies here. One thing that is now being reported is that there are 245 illegal immigrants that have crossed the border, particularly this past month, in the month of September. Okay? Now, just to give you an idea, 210,000 immigrants were apprehended by the Border Patrol, which means that's the second highest month on record. The second highest month is also, or the first highest is also in the same year. In August, we saw 180,000 people be apprehended. Okay, again, so a little bit of an uptick there. And what is being currently said, and what I think is interesting about all this, is that this announcement, again, comes just days after Congress was unable to get funding for Ukraine because Republicans said they needed stricter border policies. But not only that, again, Kevin McCarthy was ousted. This is why some experts are telling us that the reason why the Biden administration is coming out now is because their hands are tied. They have no other choice. But according to the Biden administration and multiple officials, they're saying their hands were tied because Congress denied them reappropriating the funding. Well, I don't think that's the case. And there's more to it, and I'll get to that in just a moment. Here's something else. Former President Donald Trump, he had this to say just this morning. He said, and I quote, "Will Joe Biden apologize to me and America for taking so long to get moving and allowing our country to be flooded with 15 million illegal immigrants from places unknown? I will await his apology." Now, I don't think his apology is coming, but what about a better explanation of this immediate turn of events? I think that's something that we could get. Now, here are the facts. The facts are that the Biden administration has approved over 17 miles of this border wall, and it's going to be built in Starr County, Texas. But what experts still can't get their head wrapped around is the fact that they're going to build 17 miles of this border wall. And once they build the 17 miles, people will just walk 18 miles, go around it. The other thing that I find very suspect is there is more than 17 miles of material left in the southern border. So again, the Biden administration is saying that Congress appropriated funding for this border wall, so by law, they have to use it. Well, technically by law, if they have to use all the materials and all the funding, and it's more than 17 miles of border wall, what happens then? What happens then? Now, here's something else we're being told. We are being told that right now, Congress is busy. They're busy. They're not going to worry about reappropriating these materials and this money to other projects. So it has to go to the border wall. Well, here's what governors are saying. And this is why other experts are calling this a complete lie. Because here's what's happening. The governor of Illinois has stated that their state can't keep accepting new immigrants that are being bussed in. They say the state is running out of funds for housing, for food, and so much more as a result of the influx of people. And Chicago, just Chicago, is expecting 24 more buses coming from Texas over the next few days. Now, here's what's being discussed, and this is why this is turning into a massive issue. In the state of Illinois, they're actually considering raising taxes on their residents in order to pay for more immigrants. Okay? That's not the only state that's worried. California is worried, even New York. New York is struggling. They have a very similar problem. Even the mayor of New York says that he wants all immigrants to know that coming to New York doesn't mean you are staying in a 5-star hotel and you will not automatically be allowed to work. There's processes that you have to go through. He says the city is struggling and already can't afford to house the more than 125,000 migrants that have arrived since this past spring. Now, I can tell you that things are going to get better. I can tell you that things could potentially get worse. But here's a fact. The fact is that the United States needs more funds. We need funds to keep our government programs running. We need funds to keep sending money to other countries. We need to pay back our national debt. And obviously we need funds to keep both parties happy and potentially adopt new programs. So this is why some say that securing the border is an absolute necessity. Because right now we are allowing hundreds of thousands of people into the United States without legally being able to work. Well, how do we fund these programs? We fund the majority of programs through taxes. The American people pay for this. Well, if people are coming into the United States illegally, they're not paying for their paperwork, they're not paying for taxes, and they're working under the table, we are not getting any type of tax revenue from that person, which in the last report that I read, it cost taxpayers over $2,000. It costs us over $2,000 per year to keep someone housed, keep an illegal immigrant in the United States. Okay, I believe the number is just over $2,000. But this is why some are saying this is a massive problem. And here's the other issue. All this is now starting to make a little bit more sense. But as prices get more expensive, as people are paying more for food and housing and utilities and transportation, a new car, I believe, is like over almost $50,000. That's insane. Okay? But because of these rising costs, the younger generations are deciding not to reproduce. They do not want children because raising children is getting so expensive, which is actually hindering the U.S. economic growth. Not only does not having children hurt the economy, it means less tax revenue for the United States. Just to give you an idea, in 2022, the U.S. population grew by 0.38%, which was much better than 2021 when we grew by 0.1%. But it is the fact that we are not seeing a growth in new births. The U.S. population would have been flat if not for immigration. And this, again, brings me back to the whole point of today. What is going on with immigration, both legal and illegal? And this is where things get very interesting. Some are saying that we need to increase the amount of immigration because people are not having children like they used to. We just are not reproducing. Okay? The growth rate, the population is actually shrinking. That's a huge problem, especially when if we do not have more children coming into this world, and as they get older, the problem is going to be that there's not enough people working. There's not enough tax revenue. So what do we do at that point? We have to increase our tax rate. We have to increase immigration. What's the fastest way to increase taxes, or at least the tax revenue? Well, we can increase the tax rate, which President Biden says isn't going to happen. The second thing, we can increase immigration, but it has to be legal immigration. So again, as the Biden administration just approved this plan to expand the southern border wall, just understand it's not simply because Congress would not allow them to reappropriate the funding. There's other things happening as well. So just wanted to fill you in on what's going on at this time. Feel free to share this video with your friends, family, and colleagues over on Facebook so they too understand what is going on. But that's what we got for you guys today. Again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.